All right. Thank you so much for coming to right here, right now in this moment for a power flow. Now, before we get into what we're about to do, I want to talk about why. Why do we want to feel power and empowered to begin with? If you really think about it, power at its root is just the ability to impact any given circumstance in any given situation. So if it's coming from the right place, it's good to have that impact, that ability to impact. And power comes from within. The famous psychologist, author, and Holocaust survivor, Viktor Frankl, famously said, "Our last human freedom is our ability to choose our attitude in any given circumstance." And knowing this, we have the ability to interpret anything however we want. And I like to consider this an attitude training, if you will. Because if we can program and constantly reprogram our mind to interpret challenging and uncomfortable events in a way that is constructive and growth-induced over and over again, everything in life becomes so much easier. The difference between a life defined by struggles and a life defined by happiness, joy, and success really comes from here, from within. And it takes work, it takes effort. This practice that we're about to embark on is intended to be challenging. It's intended to make you feel uncomfortable. I invite you to come back to it as often as you need to reinforce this, to start noticing how your attitude might start changing when you're in stressful situations. Because the truth is, we cannot remove discomfort from life. It's impossible. But we can always affect the way we interpret our discomforts. So come back to it as often as you need. And once it becomes meditative and almost effortless, then you can ease up on it and only come back to it when you need that empowerment again. When I was most of my life, I had a backwards understanding of how our minds work. I used to think that based on what I'm taking in, that is what I am and who I am. But the truth is, the mind works backwards. It starts with a belief. It starts with what we're telling ourselves, and then our prefrontal cortex scans for evidence to prove that. What we say about ourselves and about our environments is what we see, and what we see is what we become. So this is our opportunity to really clarify what we are saying about ourselves. It's so easy, especially in this day and age, to speak negatively about ourselves, about our environments, to focus in on the negatives, and that only perpetuates that. When I was young, and in high school especially, I really just wanted to fit in. I wanted to be with the cool kids, so I started hanging out with the bad crowd, and I was under a lot of negative influence. And in order to be with them and still not be kicked out of my house, I had to make up a lot of stories to my parents. I became kind of a compulsive liar, and I would make up all these elaborate stories about how I couldn't make it to this and how I was late for my curfew because of this, this, and this. And my parents started believing that I was just generally an unlucky person. And it became so repetitive that I started identifying with being unlucky. And I started getting more and more unlucky. And I think this peaked when I was applying to dental school to be a dentist. I took the dental entrance exam the first time as a junior in college during my winter break. I didn't really study for it, and I actually did pretty well. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to spend half the summer and get an even better score. Well, it turned out I got an even worse score. I was so unlucky, right? But it was really because I didn't really study. And so then I devoted a whole year to working, taking on jobs, and studying, and I did really well on it. But then a week after I took that exam, I got a letter from the Prometric Center where I took the exam, and they said my score is being withheld under suspicion of cheating. And they quoted that I was seen on the camera stretching, looking at another computer, and writing something down. If anyone's been to a Prometric Center, you'll appreciate how absurd this is, because first off, everyone around you is taking completely different exams, from CPAs to lawyers to everything else. And they're all titrated at different times, and it's a 4-hour exam. So naturally, my parents were like, you're just so unlucky. And in that moment, I was like, no, you know what? I'm not unlucky. I'm actually so lucky because I'm blessed with these amazing parents, with these amazing friends, and all these amazing things. And I went to my room, I got on my knees, and I just started praying out of gratitude, just thanking for all the things I'm lucky for. And since that day, I've done that every day. And guess what? My luck flipped. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's because I started saying that I'm lucky and I started paying more attention to the things I am lucky and grateful for. So that is really the foundation and the root of this practice, to take in gratitude, to enhance our power. What you see is what you say, and what you say is who you are. So I want you to think about, what do you want to see more of in your life? And begin to act and speak as if it already happened. Let that be your intention today. One of my favorite intentions, one of the favorite things I love to see, is a word that I made up, which is confidence. The ability to move through life at a pace that is conducive to our bodies, to resist the urge to rush, to be able to breathe slow and move slow. It really all starts in our breath. The patients that I see, I've been paying more attention to how they're breathing. And I've noticed a very strong correlation between diseases and struggles and challenges and the way they are breathing, which is short, shallow, fast, often through the mouth, and uncontrolled, incoherent almost. And in contrast, the patients that seem to just have everything so easy in life and just the perfect health, they don't floss, they breathe slow and deep. And I've noticed that is not a cadence that's natural to me, but I come back to this practice and it helps reinforce it. At the start of this practice, we're going to breathe the opposite, really hard and really fast. It's going to be uncomfortable. You might feel some tingling in your extremities. You might feel lightheaded, dizzy, and a little bit out of control. That is all the point. The first thing I want you to know is you're in full control at all times. If things feel too uncomfortable, anxiety's overwhelming, all you have to do is stop breathing completely and feel your body instantly reset. This is great anxiety training, because when we're in very stressful, uncontrollable situations, the same things apply. We're most likely breathing short, shallow, and really fast. Try to stop breathing and try to remember that you are ultimately in control. So play with it. We'll start with 2 rounds. We'll add some breath work at the end, and then the rest of the flow is going to be the opposite, because the natural reaction in the body is going to be more of slow and confident breathing. So, let's begin.